Hello, welcome back. So let's continue with what we were doing, and we were discussing stanza 1. So if you haven't watched the last video, please have a look at it, because otherwise things are not going to be absolutely clear to you. So let's move on and cover more ground. So we've got stanza 1 continued. The 7 ways to bliss, moksha or nirvana, were not the great causes of misery. The great causes of misery, nidana and maya, were not, for there was no one to produce and get ensnared by them. So before anything, let me explain to you moksha and nirvana, liberation. You know that, spiritual liberation. The 12 nidanas, the chief causes of existence, effects generated by a concatenation of causes produced. All right. So there are 7 paths or ways to the bliss of non-existence, which is absolute being, existence, and consciousness. They were not, because the universe was so far empty and existed only in the divine thought. For it is the 12 nidanas, or causes of being. Each is the effect of its antecedent cause, and a cause in its turn to its successor. The sum total of the nidanas being based on the 4 truths, a doctrine specially characteristic of the Hinayana system. They belong to the theory of the stream of catenated laws, which produces merit and demerit, and finally brings karma into full sway. It is based upon the great truth that reincarnation is to be dreaded. Yes, as existence in this world only entails upon man suffering, misery, and pain, death itself being unable to deliver man from it, since death is merely the door through which he passes to another life on earth after a little rest on his threshold or devachan. The Hinayana system, or school of the little vehicle, is a very ancient growth, while the Mahayana is of a later period, having originated after the death of Buddha. Yet the tenets of the latter are as old as the hills that have contained such schools from time immemorial. And the Hinayana and Mahayana schools, the latter that of the great vehicle, both teach the same doctrine in reality. Yana, or vehicle in Sanskrit, Vahana, is a mystic expression, both vehicles incubating the fact that man may escape the sufferings of rebirth and even the false bliss of devachan by obtaining wisdom and knowledge, which alone can dispel the fruits of illusion and ignorance. So this yana, or vehicle, also reminds me of the Jewish Merkava, or the light body vehicle that we hear of in the Kabbalah. Okay, so this always theosophy tries to link all the schools of thought and bring together the true keys, because as I have already discussed, that every religion on earth right now has a part of the absolute. Okay, and no one has the absolute, but everyone has a part of the absolute. So it's up to us to look within these systems and to find the keys, because to reveal the true occult secrets, it needs 7 turns. The key needs 7 turns. So it's a lot of hard work, yes, but ultimately it's all bliss, because it's about self-realization. It's about moksha and something beyond moksha. Maya or illusion is an element which enters into all finite things. For everything that exists has only a relative, not an absolute reality, since the appearance which the hidden noumena assumes for any observer depends upon his power of cognition. To the untrained eye of the savage, a painting is at first an unmeaning confusion of streaks and daubs of color, while an educated eye sees instantly a face or a landscape. Nothing is permanent except the one hidden absolute existence which contains in itself the noumena of all realities. The existences belonging to every plane of being, up to the highest Dhyani Chauhans, are in degree of the nature of shadows cast by a magic lantern on a colorless screen, and all things are relatively real, for the cognizer is also reflection, and the things cognized are therefore as real to him as himself. Reminds me of Plato's The Myth of the Caveman. So when cavemen considered the shadows to be reality, it also reminds me of the fact that we could be living in a simulation. So all those shadows in the fire that the cavemen saw are digital bits of information that we see around us. Everything happens in our brains. If you're happy, it's because we have the release of serotonin or dopamine in our brain. If we feel bonded, we release oxytocin. If we get upset, we release adrenaline and a bunch of other chemicals, which gets us, hyped up. So everything is about hormones and the release of chemicals in our brain. If we get hurt, we feel it in the brain. So everything. But it's very interesting that Nikola Tesla had said to look for consciousness in the brain is to look for the announcer in the radio. I mean, you hack the radio to bits looking for the announcer. It's kind of like that. So the consciousness is all pervasive, and it's never destroyed, because it returns even during the great night. It returns in its very essence. There is no destruction of that essence. Okay. Nothing is permanent except the one hidden absolute existence which contains in itself the noumena of all realities. So everything, I repeated that, but you get that. It's very important that it's all hidden in that absolute existence, which contains in itself all the noumena of all phenomena. Whatever reality things possess must be looked for in them before or after they have passed like a flash through the material world. But we cannot recognize any such existence directly so long as we have self-instruments, which bring only material existence into the field of our consciousness. Whatever plane our consciousness may be acting in, both we and the things belonging to that plane are, for the time being, our only realities. As we rise in the scale of development, we perceive that during the stages through which we have passed, we mistook shadows for realities, and the upward progress of the ego is a series of progressive awakenings. Each advance bringing with it the idea that now at last we have reached reality, but only when we shall have reached the absolute consciousness and blended our own with it, shall we be free from the delusions produced by Maya. So until we are not ultimately absorbed in that divine essence, which is the noumena of all phenomena, up until then, no matter how many Mayavic realms we cross, no matter if we are in Devachan, Hiranyaloka, wherever we are. Hiranyaloka is actually spoken of in Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda. It's where Yukteswar Giri has gone, where he is the guru to very, very developed astral beings. Okay? So there are different planes, there are different understandings, and yet all of this is originating from that one divine source. Ramakrishna said that I can call this jal in Bengali, you can call it pani, and in Urdu someone can call it water, a scientist may call it H2O, but what happens to that liquid? Okay, it is water. As Shakespeare eloquently said, that a rose by any other name is still a rose. I mean, I am just going verbatim, I'm not sure that is the exact quote, but it sort of gives you its essence, that a rose by any other name will always be a rose. So no matter what you want to call this divine essence, it is, no matter what you want to call your religion, whoever you worship, at the end of the day, it emanates from that one divine source. Okay, and we will all return home, because we are all spiritual beings. So we will all return home, even if our paths are different. I may be a Hindu Brahmin, you may be a Christian Catholic or a Protestant. Somebody watching this could be a Muslim. Somebody watching this could be Jewish. We all have our different paths, but at the end of it, we all go back to that same source code, whence we came from. Okay? Whatever plane our consciousness may be acting in, both we, have I done this? Yeah. Both we and the things belonging to that plane are for the time being are only realities. So we start experiencing the world around us according to our birth, according to whatever part of the story we want to subscribe to. We start experiencing that as our one and only reality. We forget the glorious picture. This is coming back home, where you truly recognize your divine essence. Okay? As we rise in the scale of development, we perceive that during the stages through which we have passed, we mistook shadows for realities, and the upward progress of the ego is a series of progressive awakenings. Yeah, I read this also. Blended and free from delusions produced by Maya. So we still have to continue with stanza 1. It's not over. It is a lot of description with stanza 1 that we have to understand, because these are very fundamental concepts and ideas. It's very important that we understand this. So moving on to the next video, because I really want to keep them short. So see you in the next video.